when I played in a band and we toured, I had to take like, so usually what people would do is take like an extra set of strings for every 2 shows. So if there's 14 shows, you'll take like 5 to 7 packs of strings. I basically would need to take a pack per show because it wouldn't be out of the realm for me to bust a string each night. Which is then also why I started playing, because it was bass, I started playing with my fingers instead of picking because I was breaking less strings. And there's nothing worse than being on tour in bumfuck upstate New York on a Saturday night, needing bass strings for a Sunday, knowing no music stores are open on Sunday in 2005. No, as soon as I started tattooing, I literally sold all my gear, but I kept those 2 because the acoustic guitar was the first instrument I bought with my own money, and the electric guitar was a gift from a family friend. So I'll probably keep those forever.
What kind of band were you in?
Allow me to show you. They recently remastered the album and put it on Spotify. We were a Christian metalcore band called Red Letter Philosophy. This is actually a new photo because they just did a show. But, you know, what song should I play? Yeah, so our album, The Overthrow, it hit its 20-year anniversary, so they did a remaster. What's funny is where we all were from Southern Virginia, you can hear his accent in the song when he starts singing. Hold on. I still remember how to play this. So it's basically like Norma Jean Kill Switch. Very on brand for 2005 and 6. It was a fucking blast. I actually loved. The guys didn't like it as much, but like I loved like sleeping on the floors, and like we would park in like not even rest stops, but like, you know, the pull-offs for trucks. Mm-hmm. We would sleep in those sometimes on long drives, and I had a fucking blast. I loved it. That was actually why I dropped out of college. I tell everyone I dropped out of college to tattoo. That's not true. I dropped out of college to be in the band, and the band like broke up and fell apart, and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And then that's when tattooing came about. And I just sold everything. So bouncing around the country playing music to flying around country tattooing and doing strongman. Boom, boom. Oh, looks like Raph needs programming for tomorrow. Get fucked. Send. Publish.
What does a typical programming for an existing client look like for you?
So obviously depends on where they're at, like how close are we to a show and whatnot. But I would say the biggest thing for me is starting with, I would love to write out full-blown 6-week blocks for people, but it just very rarely goes to plan. So I'll write stuff like 4 to 6 weeks out, and I'll have a good idea what to do after. And I'll even leave notes in there to myself that they can't see. But biggest thing is just, I think they call it like load management, just seeing some sort of progression week to week or every other week. And with the portal that we use for training, seeing where their head's at, because some of the clients will use this as like almost like a journal. Mm-hmm. So and I can't check it every day. So at least once or twice a week, like seeing how the mood is and whatnot. And balancing like what do they need to feel better about training that's also going to get them ready. So, but yeah, for me, I found like having like a 6-week template of like where we want to go is the best. But anything past that just tends to get a little too many things can come up, you know? Yeah, too much life happens, and especially like a lot of people are in that intermediate zone So just sticking to a 12-week cycle of something is really fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas like guys like me, you, Josh, Ross, like we're kind of just in it. Like, oh, all right, cool. Now there's no tempo. We can just go. For some people, and I get it, just doing like 12 weeks of extensively the same thing is really difficult.
Okay.
So, yeah, 6-ish weeks, give or take. And I mean, week to week progression is obviously the best, but I feel like every 2 weeks seeing a progression across the board, even if it's like little stuff like, oh, I've never done this many reps at this weight altogether, or sets, or something. So, also sometimes just that they're in a good mood for the entire block. I feel like that's also a huge benefit, especially again that intermediate. They've competed enough to where they do need to take at least one big chunk of time to not compete. It's like, okay, we need like 2 to 3 months of pure training. Like, don't go crazy off diet, but like we don't have to worry about a cut. And you need to be working hard, but you've got a little more leverage in terms of, oh, I can bump a workout up a day and things like that. So that way it's just literally just training, which is actually, in my opinion, really difficult for anybody. Mm-hmm. You know, especially if there's, like this time of year is a perfect example. Nationals just ended for Strongman Corporation, and OSG's coming up, and OSG now is even online and in person is not easy to qualify for. So you've got a lot of people that they don't have anything to do until fucking, some of them maybe even February. So figuring out, is there something either we can have them jump in on, like maybe a comp, but no weight cut, maybe 2 weeks of training for it. And I tell everyone the same thing when we're in that kind of zone is, if you want to do something just to keep active or keep, just have something on the books, I'll just tell them we'll do a smoker. You'll do 2 weeks of training for it, but the whole deal is there's no weight cut, full effort the whole day, but you've got to be able to get back into training that Monday, maybe Tuesday. But if you're going to need like a week off after, then we're not doing it. Yeah. So I just started with a guy, this is week 8. And when we met in July, and he had qualified for the Arnold. I met him at a regional. He had qualified for the Arnold earlier. He wanted to qualify for OSG, then do the Arnold, which a lot of guys do. But he had some shoulder issues, and just, it would have taken a lot for him to qualify, whether it was online or in person. And then the turnaround from qualifying to going to OSG into the Arnold, I told him I just thought it was a really bad idea. Especially that it's not a cheap trip. So he was completely fine with, let's do like a 10 or 12 week block. And he's actually going to do a smoker, a show with like 3 weeks of training, barely. And then we're just going to roll right into the Arnold, because I didn't want our first show together to be the Arnold if we could help it.
Yeah.
So, but he has responded awesome to the training. A lot of that's on him though, because he's been working out for years, and he moves well, but like, it was just, people, when they're doing certain movements, you can tell it's like an active decision, and they just need to be told to not do that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what he needed. Like, oh, do this, bring these in, do that. And it's just things started clicking like 3 weeks in. Wow. So, very grateful for that.
Not typical.
No. We did a 6-week pause log block, and he hit his lifetime 1RM with a 3-second pause in the hole. Wow. And then same week, he hit his lifetime deadlift PR for a double, and then he hit a 15-pound lifetime PR for a double. Jeez. So I mean, obviously, and he felt good, which I think is the coolest part. Is that he's like, I don't feel wrecked at all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, cool. That's a ton of good info, and like, obviously, I've helped sort of pave the road. But to me, that means he's like sleeping, eating, drinking water, doing all that stuff, and he's just handling training really well, which again is a whole other skill. And especially with something like how the deadlift and the log progression I had him running the first 3 or 4 weeks are like the weights are humbling in that like they're really light. Like I can't remember if I had you do it, but I had him do the pause log stuff, and you're working at like 45-50%, and it's really fucking annoying because like when I did that block a long time ago, and I was using an empty Bartos log, and it was like, this is fucking humiliating.
Yeah.
But it works. But he never once was like, you need to go heavier, this, and then the deadlift cycle was all waves, so like 7-6-5s for like 6 weeks. I think he ended at like 75-ish, ended at 75. So we were not going heavy. I was having him go heavy on like accessory stuff. So, but he never once was like, I don't know, this isn't enough, and blah blah blah. Like he was just like, I'm down.
Taking it, yeah.
Yeah.
And really focusing on positioning. And
yeah.
Getting all that down.
Yeah.
It allows you to focus on that a lot more. You know, I mean, you really have no other choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, well, the weight's really light, so this rep should look fucking perfect.
Yeah.
And when they don't, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is taking on a new client like for you? Like what do you, I guess, how do you hit the ground running with someone new who wants to start programming right away? How do you start sketching that program out?
Funny enough, I'm actually probably I'm gonna start doing that here in a little bit. Now the process has bounced back to what I did when I first started, which I would imagine is not super uncommon. But when I first started, I would have people do a pretty excessive amount of like tests and send me a lot of videos, and a lot of that I got from my old coach. And if I'm being totally honest, some of the stuff I was having them do, I didn't even know at the time what I was looking for.
Sure. You need to look for something.
Yes. I remember thinking back then, like, because so much of that stuff was like balance type stuff, like unilateral stuff. So I'm like, well, if they fall over, clearly that's not good. But now, and then, I got busier as, thankfully, I started having more success as a coach and an athlete. I hate to admit it, but like, more people are coming to you, so you feel more comfortable and feel, like, all right, let's just kind of get more into the meat of it. But now, I think I've split the difference. So when someone starts with me, we have a long talk, and I just go over my expectations as a coach, and then I want to hear what their expectations are of me from them as an athlete, and just go over the process of being on the team and expectations just as a person. But I get a bunch of videos of them doing things, mostly just lifts, but a few tests, like mostly overhead testing stuff and little things like that. And now I do not start anyone in prep for anything. They have to do a minimum of 8 weeks of what I think they just need holistically. And after that, we can maybe look at something to do. But like I was saying earlier, ideally we do a show that is not the show. We do something they can, like, no weight cut, they can roll up, ideally near where they live, go hard, and then they're back in the gym on Monday. And then we set our sights on something big, which luckily no one has ever been like offended by, but there's been recently like 2 or 3 people that are like, I really want to do this show in 8 weeks. And I'm like, absolutely, I get it. And I'll give them Ross and Jill and everyone's info. And luckily all of them have stayed within the circle, and they're working with Ross or Jill. And that's not a comment on Ross or Jill. That's just, for me, that's just where I'm comfortable at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah,
I'm sure you know you're going to operate the best as a
for
coach,
me, yeah.
And you also don't want to be a disservice to them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm trying, I think for me, with the expectations I have of people result-wise, every time I've had them do what I think is like what they need to do as a base of 8 weeks, things always go better. You know? Part of that too is like, I think as a coach, your eye is changing and growing. And like, this is me telling on myself, in my opinion, like Ross, and this sounds crazy, maybe it doesn't. I think Ross might have the single best coach's eye in the world of strongman. Which is funny because he's the first person to say like, I can't do half of these things, but I know how to coach them and eyeball them. And I've learned so much from him. Because like I'll just send him videos of people and I'll tell him like, this is what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? But just for me, it helps me learn how they move just through maturation. Just watch them do it over and over and learn their habits. And luckily, like I think I was gifted in being like insanely adherent and very brave when I started. But like I certainly wasn't gifted in terms of like movement efficiency. I'm like, oh, I used to do that. Here's what I did with Will. Here's what I've been doing with Flash. Mm-hmm. So that's just what sets me up to succeed for giving them stuff, I think. And it just makes me, it does not give me anxiety. I feel pressure to like get them rolling and create the plan. But the few times, I should say more than a few times, we're like, I got to show in 8 weeks. I'm like, all right, well, you got to get rolling. And, you know, again, most people are in that intermediate zone if they want to win. If you're 8 weeks out, you're getting thrown to the wolves. Mm-hmm. Even with like the most thought out periodization. I mean, even for me, like now working with Flash, we do 6-week peaks. That's all I need for the peak. Yeah. I got to do like volume and accumulation and stuff, but I need 6 weeks to, you know, be ready to go. You know, so with other people, they need a little longer.
Yeah.
So
because you've already established such a base, and you're ready to pivot. Yeah. In any one direction.
Yeah. I just need a few weeks to practice. Yeah. Get some volume in and reps, and then ramp up. Yeah. Yeah, but with most people, it's like, no, we need to do like a whole thing. We're going to start with eccentrics, then we're going to do pauses, and then you're going to get to do reps. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's how it's been going. That's how I want to keep it going, and honestly, forever. And that might slow down the growing of clients for me in the short term, but I think long term it's way better, which is like how we've been doing this since we started as the team, and it is working. Also, I just don't like being in a rush, so yeah.
Why don't you share a little bit why you decided to start coaching? What drove you towards that?
I would say I probably have a pretty innate desire to share things that I'm into with anyone around me, mm-hmm. whether it's movies, lifting, music. But I think I myself have benefited especially so much from my first coach, Will, who you met, that it was that in that relationship I still have was so important to me, and I'd had it sort of prior, like in tattooing and in life, but those types of relationships, I don't know how you would, I wouldn't say mentor, maybe mentor, I don't know, just the relationship of having someone that's sort of helping guide you through something that has like a base level of investment of you as a person. I benefited from so much as a kid and as like a young adult that I just felt naturally drawn to it, and I'm one of those people, I like to talk about the things that I'm into with other people that are into it, you know? So, I don't know, it was just this innate desire. I was always afraid to do it. And that was why the team program was actually my first attempt at doing it. I didn't coach anyone at that time. And I just felt like, okay, I'll write this programming that isn't for any one person. It's just out there in the world for anybody. And that can be how do I sort of parse out my ideas and thoughts and try and get results from it and feedback on anyone that's willing to try it. And then pretty quickly after that is when I started getting a few people hitting me up for like individual coaching. And just got a lot out of it. I mean, obviously, like there was, when people get results, that's huge. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm someone that I just like talking to people, being with people. I like sharing with people and sort of not collecting, but I like to either be on a journey and have people come along with me or to be along someone else's journey. And I think especially with me growing up as like an only child, and I just spent a lot of time alone, that I was kind of like that kid in that movie The Sandlot. I always wanted to find like my little gang and squad, and like luckily I did twice in my life, which is really rare. I found my 3 best friends in school that were friends to this day, and then I found like this core group, you included, but like you and the guys, and I don't know. I think all that sort of weaves in and out to where I want to know how everyone's doing, but just sharing this thing together, I guess, is the best way to put it. And I don't know, seeing people work really hard at a thing and have them having success just gets me going. Especially this a couple weeks ago in Vegas when we were at Nationals, not everyone got the outcome they wanted in terms of placement, but pretty much everyone like hit the nail on the head. And luckily everybody walked away from it like, I did what I could and that's how it goes. And I was as equally fired up about those folks as I was with Josh, who made the podium and, was extensively 1 point or 1 rep from winning the whole thing. So, yeah, I think just helping people, it's just there. I think it's just innate in me. And yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a long-winded way of saying I just like to help people and talk to people. Yeah, it wasn't born out of, like, I didn't need to do it. It wasn't like a money thing, especially when you're starting, like, because I never was interested in like in-person training, to be honest. I do that sometimes for people, or I'll do a seminar, but I have no interest in being like a full-time in-person trainer. It's exhausting, and like I just have no interest in it. Mm-hmm. So, even in 21 or whenever it was when I launched the team program, I had a name in the sport of a type, but not compared to what it is now. And like, me like, well, I'm taking on clients. Like, I always felt weird about it. I felt like it was, I didn't think I had enough chops or knowledge. I was pretty confident in my experience, but I mean, how many athletes make good coaches? It's very rare.
Super rare, yeah.
So, and like, I'm the first person to down myself, which is a reoccurring issue. So I remember calling Will about it and talking about the team program and coaching and just being outright about like trying to coach people. And, I said like I'm doing right now, I spent like 30 minutes to say a 5-minute spiel. And he was like, I think you've been ready for years. He's like, so do it. Watch the results, listen to what they're telling you, and just go with it. Mm-hmm. So.
And then what made you go the Stronger Together route with this team?
Yeah.
Rather than just
me?
Just you by yourself, yeah.
Yeah. So Stronger Together was a product, and it was the team program. And it was doing pretty good, and my one-to-one coaching was going well. As I've had more success, my coaching does well. That's just the way it goes. Mm-hmm. I'm very grateful for that. But it was literally in the span of quite literally 12 hours, I texted Ross because I was, even before we were working together officially, I was always asking him stuff. And I would always refer people to him for weight cuts, nutrition, and all that. And I was just like, hey, how about you and I maybe strike a deal for anyone that wants to get programming by me and weight cuts or nutrition by you, I'll take a cut off or whatever. He's like, well, you don't, how about we both take a cut instead of just you? And we were like trying to figure out a number. And I was like, think on it, no pressure. Just let me know. And he was like, we should probably just we should probably just be a team. Like, we should just be two coaches that work together. I'm like, oh man, that would be really cool. And then the next morning, I had the day off, and Andrew texted me. He was like, or he sent me a voice note, which is, him and I are we do that a lot. He was like, hey dude, what's up? I got a lot running around to do, but let me know if you get time for a phone call. All right, bye. Fuck you. I'm like, I'm home all day. I'm not training. I'm just doing stuff. And he called me, and we were catching up, and he was still doing some the one-to-one coaching he was doing. And he was like, yeah, I wanted to ask, like, I want to drop down how many people I one-to-one coach and just do pre-written stuff. And I was wondering if I could put it out through Stronger Together and use your branding, and you basically help market it and stamp it. And I was like, man, that is fucking weird timing. And I told him about Ross and I talking, and he was like, he was like, dude, and starts laughing. And he was like, what if we just did all this together? I was like, son of a bitch. We talked a bit about what he wanted to write and put out, and I was like, cool, I'll text you later. But yes, we'll do it, but we'll talk later. Texted Ross, and I was like, how do you feel about this? He's like, duh, obviously. And my fucking wheels just started turning. And I got like elated, excited. So, and like with the way my brain works, I start just like thinking 1,000 steps ahead when I should probably just be thinking like the first step. So, and I just told Ross, I was like, I don't know, man, I think like this could be awesome. And he was like, it will be. But then I was like, I'm worried it's going to get too big too quick. He's like, we got to get started first. He was like, it's only going to get as big as we want it to, and then that's up to us. I was like, well, that's a very Ross, what a very logical Ross answer.
Such a dad.
Oh my God. Dude. I have an entire Ross impression as a father that I do sometimes. I haven't done it in front of him yet. I'll probably do it when they're in town in a few weeks. But, so we all did a phone call together, and I just laid out so many things. Like, I was talking about doing stuff 2.5 years ago that we're like just now starting to do now. Which I guess that's good. But they were like, sick, cool, we're totally agree, but like we can just start simple. So I was like, okay. He's like, let's put out this prep program, and let's make a team Instagram, and we'll just start there. That was it. And we have just been rolling ever since. So it was just literally 2 phone calls and texts within 12 hours of both of them broaching the idea, sort of. And that's what we were talking about earlier about life. I was like,
timing.
Yeah. And like now with all my decisions, I try to literally base them on, which some people it's the opposite, but with me, with stuff like this, it is all pure gut reaction. If my gut reaction is just pure elation or joy, excitement, it is fundamentally a good decision. The details can get hairy, but I was like, everything's telling me, everything about this makes me happy and excited, so I'm just going to throw myself into it.
Yeah, just following your intuition.
Yeah. So, and that was it, man. And we just started throwing ourselves into it, and it's just been going better and better. And then we added Jill a few months ago, and that's been going good. And a year ago, we added Kelly as our social media manager, which she has been paramount the last year and a half, year-ish.
She kills.
Dude, kills it. And like, for as much as I try to do, like, I tell everyone, like, the unsung hero of the team is Kelly, the like rock of the team is Ross, in my opinion.